And welcome to our Virgo Ambition Besties. We have a wonderful conversation for you today. I am delighted. I think I'm also spoiled because from this individual that we are going to have a conversation with, I have known her since I was like 12.
Yeah, 12 years old.
12 years old. It is my very own bestie, Layisha Bailey. And I'm excited to have her because I think that her journey, and I've had a front row seat to it. You know, if you haven't seen the podcast yet with Kristen Clark, as we talk about journeys, etc., and the fact that I had a front row view to hers, this one I feel like it's not even just a front row, like it was like a side seat in the car, like
Right. Literally shotgun.
side seat to it. And so, a part of her journey has been, and I've been able to witness and blessed to witness kind of her matriculation through her journey of who she thought she would grow to be compared to who she has grown to be as a woman. And it's been just a beautiful, beautiful a vision as she's been able to figure out who she is, who she wants to be, who she's even yet to come. But today we're going to have a conversation about how do you actually redefine your goals in life when you have the mindset and mentality that this is where I was going, this is what I wanted to do. But sometimes life takes you in a different direction,
Yeah.
and you really want to redefine what that looks like. So, Layisha, for our ambitious besties that are on the line, can you take a couple of seconds and introduce who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey besties, again, Amber already told you, this is my best friend. So yeah, she has had a shotgun seat to everything that has happened in my life since I was 12 years old and vice versa. So, we've been riding together for a while, but just so you all can get to know me, I am a real estate agent. I would consider myself someone who really advocates for their community, somebody who is a community development professional. I started at 14 years old going into public service or some form of government working, first from Tri-C all the way to, the Federal Reserve Bank. I spent the majority of my life in my work life in public service and government. So I always say for me, it's, community work first. And that really helped me build a foundation of understanding how to accommodate and consider other people in my everyday decisions and decisionings of how I, move about my life. So I think that is, a very unique perspective to have. But now I'm a corporate person. I made that switch as well. And it has allowed me to learn some new things, but also understand what is the community aspects of that. But my heart is in real estate. I got my license in 2008, right in the middle of the housing crash. And so it was a learning opportunity for me. And I think that, as we talk about this journey of redefining life goals, you start out with that fire in anything. And as we grow, as we go through things, as lives, we, have to make some shifts, make some changes. And that's, I'm not unique. This is a story for all of us, and we all have our unique story. So, I'm just glad to share my story, glad to be here with you. And hopefully we start a conversation in other friend groups and, to see where this goes.
So for those who aren't familiar, Layisha is specifically talking to the Cleveland market. So Tri-C is a community college here. So that's one of the places that she was talking about through her journey. And I have seen her, as she says, really be a foothold in the community. I actually remember when Layisha, and maybe we'll get back here one day, wanted to be either the mayor or wanted to be, a councilwoman in the city of Cleveland. And she's moved from the city of Cleveland to the suburbs, but I think that she still has, her heart in the actual city of Cleveland and wants to see it thrive and do well. So we'll get into all of that. Yeah. But what I want to start with today, again, going back to the subject matter, a renewed perspective. So redefining life goals and who you are. There is a line in a song that I saw, and I would love for you to tell me how this makes you feel, what you think about it, and how it juxtaposes. Okay. You have been redefining your life goals, and it's from India Ari.
Okay,
And
music my thing.
and she said, I thought you would like this one. She
Mm-hmm.
said, what did not demolish me, polish me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that goes to the old adage of what doesn't, kill you can break you and all that kind of stuff. And I think what we have to understand, and what I've grown to understand, is there are going to be things that happen that take us off course, that's going to feel like it is the end of the world, that you can't bounce back from it. And at the end of the day, you get through it and you come out, not unscathed. We're not going to sit here and tell fairy tales, but at the same time, you come out better. You come out on the other side of it, and you can then take whatever it is you learn and apply it to something else that may look familiar down the line. And I just really feel like, there's nothing that can break us. There is nothing that can break us. Anything that comes our way, we may not recognize it at the time, but we have the tools to get through it. And sometimes the tools come to you, during that time. And so, NDRE is right. It's just polish, baby. We shine. That's it. That's it.
So what I'm hearing you say for our BFFs listening or watching today is everything that you need is already within you.
Everything you already need is within you. And don't worry, because if you don't have it right then, it is coming to you. We walk a journey where we will always be supplied with what we need. We will always be supplied with what we need. And I'm a very firm believer in that. There is nothing that you are going to go through in this life that you will not be equipped to handle. And then you turn that lesson and you teach somebody else, or help somebody else.
So when we talk about life goals, and we already kind of clued in of some of the places that you wanted to be in our younger selves as we were talking in our 20s, and kind of where you are holistically in your 30s. Can you take us through the journey of who Layisha thought that she would be in the 20s? Sure. And although those goals may have not been achieved because you've updated your goals based upon the person that you are today, how that has actually enabled you to meet the goals of who you are right now.
So I will first say, I'm an ambitious girl. And everybody wears their ambition, differently. Yeah. But I will say in my 20s, I'm thinking I'm the next, real estate mogul. The story. I'm developer. I'm gonna be building, commercial properties and stuff by this time in my life. And I read Donahue Peoples' book and wrote to him and told him how much he inspired me, which is very much true. It did. He called my phone. I'm like amped up. He calls me. He's like, let me know what's going on. Let me follow you in this. And then, the housing market crashed. Everything, the housing market crashed, everything crashed. I had my license, and, it was just a really place where I had to gain my footing and understanding how cyclical real estate is. And so, I would just say this, through that journey, through my 20s, I'm working, I'm going to school. I bought my first home, get my degree, I'm doing a lot. And so what I will say is, what I noticed is that I laid the foundation that could never be shifted or moved in my 20s. And it wasn't perfect, I'm like everybody else, why don't I have this yet? And why didn't this happen? But what I understood is I had a really good base to continue to climb on and continue to propel myself to where I am today. But within that time frame, from 20 shifting now to late 30s, there was a time in my life where I needed to pull all the way back. I needed to pull all the way back. Someone right. I wasn't feeling right. It was like I'm constantly going. And it was like, but I'm not centered and it's not clear to me exactly where I'm going. And so for me, a lot of times people don't step back or take that time. And I am a huge proponent. I'm telling people now, everybody don't have to do it. But when you feel like what you're working towards, you're not too sure and you're trying to figure out why this isn't working. Yeah. Maybe it is you. Maybe you're not approaching things the way that you did before with that same fervor, with that same tenacity. take that step back, take a pause, and try to reassess kind of where you are. And so that's what I did kind of my mid-30s. And now I have same goals, but just a different perspective on how to get there. And I'm working with more than what I was working with when I first went into knowing what I wanted to do. You know, I went into real estate honestly through a love of it, like honestly watching your dad. Like, you know, he's been in my life too since I was 12 years old. Mm-hmm. So, you know, seeing him and going around with him and stuff, I'm asking questions. And when I did finally come to him and say, hey, I want to do this, he was like, I know you did, because you always were asking me questions. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to press it upon you. I wanted you to come to me about it. And that's exactly what happened. And so it's kind of the same thing. After I came out of that period of slowing down, he's the first person I went to and talked about what it is that I want to do and how I, you know, want to get there. And so I would just say, you know, your journey will change, but a lot of the times you've already laid the groundwork to help support yourself that will never leave you.
So going back to what you were saying, and I actually have a story. So story time. Layisha is the one, guys, that actually got me to go into real estate. So although I was third generation, right, I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's different, and everybody's story is different, but it's kind of like, you know how chefs say they're always in the kitchen, so they never want to eat the food. Like they don't have a taste for it because they're the ones that are cooking it.
Right.
So being a part of real estate all my life and seeing it, and you see the behind the scenes and everything, I'm like, I don't want this. Like, and she was, one day she said, but why? Like, it's right there. It's right there. And so she gave me, and I'm very grateful for that, she gave me a different perspective as to, you know, it did make sense for me to go into that. And although I have different avenues, I can't imagine not having this be a part of my journey. So I owe that to her. And when we go back to the lessons and how we really shape individuals within their lives, what I want for everybody here is to understand that it's really important to have those people in your lives that will give you that perspective that you didn't see, make you think differently about it, and also give you the space to figure out who you are, but hold you accountable to some of the places you think you should be. So I don't know if you have any
on that story though. You know, let's tell the people. We both study and we go to the classes together at community college.
Yeah.
Amber in the front of the class, you know, she there. I'm in that law class. Like, Lord help me. We reading straight out the book. I'm about to die in there. I'm taking breaks. I'm like, I can't. But what I saw, like once we got into it and we go and take the test, Amber passed on the first time around. I then passed one part. I passed one part on the first try, and I have to go back and pass the second part. But every day going to work, I carried that book with me. I had that book with me every day. It was in my bag, carried it. I did not care if I was going to pass that test. But all I'm saying that to say is, as I watch your journey in real estate, you know, just kind of like me talking to you and being like, you know this like the back of your hand. Like, what is it about this that you don't want to go into? Like, this is your family, you know, business, it's your family legacy. Like, I'm not understanding. What I will say is, seeing you pass the test on the first try, like, we can have a similar like goal. And I think the support that you showed me during that time of trying to pass that second part just speaks volumes to your point, having that somebody in your corner, that network of people, because you literally had it and you could have been like, okay, you know what I mean? But you helped to encourage me to continue to that second part. So the same way I encouraged you, it was paid right back because I needed that encouragement.
Layisha, to the point, let's tell our BFFs here. Layisha had it. She just kept overthinking it. And so that was the reason. And so, you know, going back to another lesson of being she's never been an overthinker, which was crazy to me. Usually I was the one who was like, what do you think? I don't know. And she just kept overthinking certain questions and sections that was throwing her off. So she had it. She had it.
It was nerves. I was nervous.
I was going to say, I think it was around the nerves of the test taking.
Yeah, I was nervous.
Instead of like the lack of understanding the concept.
Yeah, it was nervous. I was nervous. It meant a lot. It was a lot. I put a lot of weight on it. That's another, thing about, as we go on this journey, it's going to be things that we do put a lot of weight on. And, we begin to overthink and doubt what we know, but you know it to your point, you know it, you got it.
And I think when we talk about just innately knowing things and having that potential that sometimes we don't bring to the surface, even when it comes to our goals and such things like that. I laugh because, guys, I've always been really bad at math all of my life. I knew it was 4, but my father, who is like a mathematical genius, used to try to do math with me. And those like memes where the parents are getting so frustrated with the kid. That was him with me. He would get so frustrated with me. But my brain just did not work like that. I just, I was more of an artsy, Englishy kind of person. I just couldn't work it. And Layisha, I remember going back to our undergrad. So we went to Cleveland State University together, and we both were in the urban studies schools.
Mm-hmm.
Was it statistics that I have, or was it economics?
It was urban. It was like urban economics.
Urban economics. So first of all, listen to that, urban economics. But I was struggling, and this girl here sat down with me, and I was like, look, I gotta get I think it was something dire. I was like, I gotta get an A on this test so I can get it was like life or death. And she sat there with me to make sure that I could pass that test. I remember the teacher, we were in the library or something, and the teacher of the class came in there and even saw us studying together. And I owe it to her that I passed that class. And I say that about innate potential because my brain never worked like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to goals and understanding where you are in life, because further or later, I mean, we were early 20s,
right,
when we were in our undergrad. So, late 20s, something turned on in my brain, and maybe it was just the intersection of real estate, but I was like, oh, I get this. And so I think that
some house numbers, baby. You want to know what you can afford?
Yeah.
Right. Crunching.
I want to know how much money I'm going to get. I can figure out. But all that to say, I think it goes back to goal setting, where a lot of times, especially in our 20s, early 20s, even at that, we have these goals, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we don't even know who we are yet. Mm-hmm. And I think as we go through the journey and understand who we are, we turn on, like I said, with the math, we turn on that part of our brain or ourselves.
Yeah.
Our goals look different. So with that, Layisha, as you think about being in your 30s, mm-hmm. and we're now in our late 30s, and, knocking on 40s door, as I like to say, it's great. How has the Layisha of her 20s compared to the Layisha of her 30s kind of molded you and what you see for your future?